That's from the new Mark Harrison album called Fools and Clowns, and that's House Rent Party. Mark is on the line. That is an old idea for a blues song, Mark. Why did you decide to revisit it?
It's not an old one for me. And from time to time, I think back or look back through my collection of blues history and the books, and I remembered reading about John Lee Hooker playing at house rent parties. And I think did he not have house rent boogie? He had a boogie for everything, didn't he? He boogied every single event in life, I think. So, yeah, I just looked that up and I remembered some stuff about these parties. And I thought it was interesting because what interests me with these ideas of the history is how they have some relevance to our lives today. So that's always my reason for having a song about them. I mean, first of all, you read these things and the circumstances in which they happened, and you think, well, these were times of extraordinary and genuine injustice that no one could really contest, whereas these days, perhaps, but the idea that people doing the same job got paid differently according to skin color isn't one that would have much credibility these days. But that's what happened. And so that was a way into the topic. But I thought also that the idea that people who have nothing or have very little are automatically miserable and victims is another modern invention invented by people who've never met any of them. And perhaps people who have quite a lot in life don't have as much fun. That was my thought.
And one of the things you've brought to your songwriting is this joy of knowing about the old bluesman's life. I mean, before I knew you, I'd never heard of Long Gone Miles. But you have this song, Fancy Hotel, and that's about another one. Tell me about that.
This is about blind Willie McTell, the great 12-string player. His heyday, I suppose, was, as with most of the acoustic players, 20s and 30s, he wrote the great Statesboro Blues that was subsequently butchered by a series of white rock bands. He, by the 1940s, I think, was a street singer, and he got visited by John Lomax, the ethnomusicologist, and he wanted to speak to, as well as record, Willie McTell, because he had been a significant figure. So he found Willie McTell playing a car park, invited him to come to his swanky hotel, and they recorded an interview and some songs. And the interview, the interview is interesting, but the bit that struck me that you could take something from this is that John Lomax is trying to get Willie McTell to tell him stories of racism. So he's pushing for tales of injustice, if you like. The snag was that Willie McTell didn't have any. He wasn't denying that it happened. Of course, how could he? And he had perhaps grown up with that in the past, but he didn't have any stories of himself being a victim. He didn't see himself as a victim. He thought he'd had a successful music career, and that's what interested me. So that's what the song's about.